Bienvenido, listener. Welcome, oyente, to our episode 10. I am Yesenia Chavez, and I love being here with
Jaime Mallorquin. And in case you're new, we will both be serving as your hosts, your guides, your cuento curators for this Latino, Latinx storytelling podcast, ¿Qué me cuentas?
Hola, hola. It's lovely, lovely, lovely to have you here. And if you've been with us since the beginning, well, this is kind of like our 10th date, okay? So our relationship, it's getting pretty serious. It's an open relationship, though, don't worry, because, well, we all listen to other podcasts, and that's okay. No need to complicate things because, well, that can suck. Just like the pursuit of love can also suck sometimes. And that is why the theme for this February episode is Amores, Perros. It's partly a nod to the movie and our love for Gael. Pero también porque pues si hay amores perros. Before the movie, this was already a term. Quisimos explorar el amor y los amores que nos han dejado marcados or that just, linger in your heart, in your mind.
We are just barely making it in time to be a February episode, and I, for one, do not have any lingering love stories that I care to share, but we're very thankful to those who did, and we are excited for you guys to hear them.
Our first story is also titled after a classic film from El Cine Mexicano. Here is Jacqueline Castro sharing her story, La hija de nadie.
I grew up without ever knowing my father, just like many kids from the hood. And I was very young when I watched this movie that forever changed my life. It's called La hija de nadie, the daughter of no one, with Yolanda del Rio. Immediately after I watched this film, I knew that my life would never be the same. In this film, the main character also grew up with a single mom, not ever knowing her dad, just like me. When she came of age, she fell in love with a handsome young man. They dated, they kissed, they became intimate. And long after loving each other, they found out they were brother and sister. Like, I didn't even know that was a possibility. That was, whoa. By the end of the film, the couple committed suicide. I was a little kid watching this movie, devastated. I cried myself to sleep that night. As a Latina, growing up in a predominantly Latino community, I began looking at all men like, are you my father? Are you my brother? Are you my cousin? I was a little traumatized, to say the least. That's when I realized that dating was going to be a little more challenging for me. So this song, La hija de nadie, this film, La hija de nadie, it's made me who I am now. These are the lyrics I can relate to the most. Dice, en inglés, dice, at fault are the most cruelest fathers of all, the ones that never deserve to be men. They go around deceiving women and denying children their name. I don't understand. Why can't they just die before they commit more evils and treacheries? I, too, am the daughter of no one. I can only count on one name. For that, I have to thank my mother. My father, I've never met. I bet he must be a coward, like the many that have came to this world. Wow. I get so emotional every time I hear that song, every time I see that movie. The more I hear it, the more I love my last name, Castro. Even though she might not know me, Yolanda del Rio has been the biggest influence of my fatherless dating life. Like most teenagers, I was raging with hormones in high school, and I was so excited to date boys. And when it came to who I was going to date, I had only one main rule. He had to not be my brother. As silly as that sounds, those were the issues I was facing. Growing up, not knowing if you have siblings all over your hometown of Boyle Heights makes your dating life interesting, to say the least. So if I wanted to date somebody, then I had to be clever, and I came up with a plan. And this plan consisted of 2 tests. If I was going to date a boy, he had to pass these 2 simple tests. Test 1, I would ask him about his parents. If he had an absent father, then He was eliminated. I was not willing to take that risk. I'm so sorry. Test 2. If the boy had 2 parents, I would ask to meet the parents. Once I would meet the father, I would size him up and wonder, ¿puede ser él mi papá? Could he be my father? I would stare long and hard trying to look for similarities. My thoughts are purely focused on physical attributes since I don't look anything like my mother. When I was completely convinced that we were not related, then and then I would date the boy. Of course, this dating plan of mine is not sustainable. It's not easy or realistic to ask to meet the parents before I can officially go to first base. So my plan did not last long. That's pretty obvious. But once I got to college, my dating scene, it just became much easier for me because being in college exposed me to a different pool of men. Unlike all the Latino high school boys I was used to, no judgment to all the boys I dated, they were all great and they taught me something valuable at that point in my life. But college, wow. College, on the other hand, was an eye-opening experience to a world I never, ever, ever knew. I met so many different people from different parts of the world. I began appreciating the beauty of our differences, the beauty of our similarities. I loved college and I love my dating life. That's when I picked up the equal opportunity lover way of living. I purposely dated people from different backgrounds, religions, cultures, ethnicities. I learned about different foods, traditions, music. But most importantly, I learned about the qualities I like in men I can date who can never be my brother.
Thank you, Jacqueline, for sharing that very fun story. It's a very humorous way of solving your love life problems. And there was definitely some movies that I was shown as a Mexican kid by my parents that I probably shouldn't have watched, that I'm sure probably traumatized me too, even though I'm not aware of it.
She performed this at an outdoor venue with her baby in the backpack, and it was amazing. She really brought it, and her energy is really wonderful. She has an upcoming book, and you can follow her on Instagram and find out on the progress and where you can get it once she finishes the book, and I can't wait to read it myself.
Our next storyteller continues with the theme of struggles while seeking love. Here is Joe Felix with his story, Amor bien Perron.
I've been single for a little over 3 years now. I've dated and all that, but I think I've been single because it's taken me this long to realize that the last relationship I was part of failed because of me. I was too bigoted to oblige by what my partner needed and wanted. And I was too unaware of myself to know what I needed and wanted. And so I was under the illusion of love while we both compromised so that we can stay in each other's lives. We met taking improv classes at the Second City in 2018. We were in the same improv classes from January through June. And I saw her every week. And it started off as a crush, and that's all I wanted it really to be, was me admiring her from afar. You know, she was an actor, and she was very funny and much better at improv than most people there because she had so much experience, and she was talented and witty and acrobatic on stage, very beautiful. And so I just admired her for a while, and I would find reasons to talk to her before class and during break, and that's what it was for months, was these little moments that I got to enjoy. And I'm the kind of guy who will just have a crush and not do anything about it because, I mean, relationships can get very ugly and become very unforgiving, much like this one did. So in June, I found out that she wouldn't be trying to go into the conservatory program at the Second City after taking the fundamentals, and that she'd be doing her own thing. So we had like lukewarm texting for about a month until one day she was dog sitting at the time, and she was feeling a little lethargic and hesitant about going out to promote her theater company's play, which is a children's play called Dr. Scooby Doolittle. and she was part of her old college's theater group, and she wanted to put up flyers, but she was too lazy to go out and do so. But I suggested I would go and help her to like keep her company and to help her with the dog. And so she was dog sitting in Highland Park. So I met her in Highland Park, and that's where I grew up. In fact, she was dog sitting a block away from where my elementary school was. And I didn't realize this, but this was our first date, and we got to spend the day together putting up flyers in the park, getting to know each other, and realizing that there was some chemistry there. At the end of the day, I suggested that we get some in and out, take it back to the place where she was dog sitting, and it was just her and I and this wonderful dog named Mabel. And this is a thing that I can't explain, but as I was leaving after hours of spending time together, I lingered at the door, not knowing what I was doing or what I was expecting. But before I turned the doorknob, I was about 10 feet away from her, and she leapt at me and gave me a big kiss on the lips. And because I felt too like I had spent a lot of her time, instead of pursuing more than the kiss, I just said, "Okay, bye. I'll talk to you later." And I found out later that she was horrified because she thought she had jumped my bones, and it was a kiss that I didn't want. She like called her roommate and told her about it. But in reality, it was the best kiss that I've to this day have ever received. My favorite kiss forever. I mean, probably. And yeah, we had chemistry, and so after that, we went out some more, and we started dating. And I asked her if she wanted to be in a relationship, and the thing was, she had only recently dated women because she had an awful time with men. Um, she was bisexual. As where we left off, I think she exclusively dates women now, but at the time she had not dated a guy in a while. She said she wanted to remain in an open relationship because she wanted to keep dating men and women. And I said, well, okay, you're bi, but you have a boyfriend. So why not? I mean, I could be your boyfriend and then you can find a girlfriend. And why not that? And she's like, okay. So we both compromised. And for months, we got to know each other, and there was good chemistry, but there was always this thing behind us, which was we were both compromising, and that I wanted to be with her and she wanted to be with many others. And so we still got to know each other. And, she got to meet my mom, and she thought my mom was hot. And I got to meet her mom, and I thought her mom was hot. And I thought that was funny. And, like, this is actually the first white woman that I was in any relationship with. And she was like, she lived in Northeast LA, which were my old stomping grounds, which I love. So there was this aspect of nostalgia. She lived actually like 2 blocks away from my middle school, and there's this nostalgia associated with it, and meeting someone new, and her and I being wanting to be entertainers, and just having so much chemistry, but having completely different desires, and having breakdowns with each other because we couldn't not we couldn't tell each other that we really just shouldn't be with each other, but we still wanted to because we found each other so special. And I thought myself, every time I was jealous that she was thinking about dating a girl, I thought, well, I'm the only boy that she wants to date, so and she's dated in a while, so there must be something about me, right? And that's what I told myself when I would be jealous that she would want to go out with someone. And the times when she would tell me that we would be at parties and she'd want to take some girl home, but I was there with her and she couldn't do so because she thought it would be rude to me. And she finally, after a few months in early 2019, told me that she did not want to date me anymore because if she were to date a woman, well, most women don't like to date women with boyfriends. And I dropped out of grad school because it was a difficult thing to process. And I drowned myself in a 72-hour work week to forget about it. And for a long time, I thought that if I had a chance, I would try to fix it. But now, if you were to ask me, knowing what I know, if I would try and do it again, I wouldn't, because I took me this long to realize that I'm not what she needed, and nor could I ever give that to her. But for a while, I got to date my crush, and I felt like I was in love.
I do think they had a lot of chemistry, but sometimes chemistry is not enough to sustain a relationship. And I love the crush and all the moments, the first kiss, all of those magical moments that happen when you start falling for a person. I think that's really part of the beauty of love, is you never know when it's gonna hit ya on the head.
Also, at the end of that piece, I just felt like saying to Joe, like, hey, don't put it all on yourself. She's not what you needed. And I really admire people who go out there and at least give it a shot. I think there's a lot of pressure sometimes, or at least we feel it, to be in a relationship, to be with someone, and sometimes we forget that it's also okay to just be working on self-love. And so I asked Jasenia to share one of her poems that kind of reminds me of this. We're going to do that now. Here's Jasenia Chavez sharing her poem, The Baby and the Dog.
When hiking, the couples with the baby in the backpack and the dog annoy me the most. They remind me of the inadequacy I feel, like something is wrong with me, like I miss a meeting, the memo, the class, about how to get married and buy a house and have a baby and a dog by 35 or younger, or at least before 40. The clock has ticked away. I miss the class about how to get the wedding. The couples with the baby and the dog annoy me the most, and I want to snicker at them, or at least shake my head in disgust. Now I know how the wicked witch felt, why she cursed the baby, why she wanted to take Snow White's beauty or the voice from the Little Mermaid. I want to be mean too, but I don't because that's just rude. And when they get closer, the baby is kind of cute and the dog too. And though my body has not swelled with growing life inside, my left finger has not felt the weight of a diamond. I have felt my body swell with joy and pride while dancing, traveling, reading, writing. I have felt the weight of a silver ring I bought myself, a heart to remind me I love me. I free myself from the expectations others have placed on me, the expectations I placed on myself. I free myself. Even though the couples with the baby and the dog annoy me the most, I understand this is my path. I'd like to think I chose it. I remind myself over and over, breathing in and out, running fast now, running fast to escape the couples with the babies and the dog toward my own wholeness.
Great job as usual. I love all the metaphors with choosing your own path and the hikes and the Disney references, of course. I can definitely relate to a lot of this. Tell us a little bit about writing it.
I wrote that because when I'm walking, I end up, seeing these things and then feeling sorry for myself, and I have to refocus on loving myself and all the different ways that I've seen people show up for me and love me. And the ways that I have seen love work, my little sister is happily married. I love my nephew. I love my married friends and my mommy friends and all my doggy mommy friends too. And it's just sometimes, you get those moments where you feel frustrated or you don't feel seen. And you have to find a way back to yourself.
No, I definitely see what you're saying. I myself have also had those moments. And at times you stop and you think, wait, are you becoming bitter? But the truth is no, because I can still look around and feel joy and happiness for people around me finding love. And an example of that is our next storytellers. Here is a piece by Joshua Nicolas and Diana Cruz, which we titled Just Friends.
Okay, so I remember Diana and I were texting a lot that day, and all of a sudden it just went quiet. She just stopped texting me. And that's fine. We're both busy. We both got, individual things going on.
My hands were sweaty and I was just feeling very, very nervous. And I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to do it. So I texted him. I'm like, hey, you know what?
Suddenly, out of nowhere, I got this text saying,
I want to talk to you. My feelings for you are getting serious.
How she was basically catching deep, serious feelings for me, and that she wanted to take things more serious.
I'm ready. I'm ready to move on to the next step. I'll respect if you don't feel that way. But if that is the case, then, we're going to have to stop doing, all the little cushy that we've been doing and just go back to being just friends.
It was really, really exciting getting that text, but God damn, it was scary as hell too at the same time, because this is Diana Cruz, who I held with such great high regard for years as one of my best friends. And now at that moment too, I just started thinking about how we met, and it took me back to when we first struck up a friendship as castmates and the journey that we went on to get to this point where we're at right now.
So we met back in 2018 at a table read, and we would spend a lot of time with each other, with rehearsals and then tech rehearsal. And, he would always walk me to my car, or I would walk him to his, and then he would drive me over to mine and stuff like that. And that was one of the first things that I noticed about him. He was such a gentleman. And in one of those times that we walked over, we started having a conversation about, values and morals. And it just felt like in a world of fake people, in a world of two-faced people, we were two real people talking to each other. And right from there, I felt like our connection started, and it started getting deep. And I mean, obviously, he's very funny. And we just had the same type of humor, and we just became really good friends at such a short amount of time.
And at that time in 2018, when we were becoming friends, it wasn't anything more than that, right? I mean, obviously, I thought she was an attractive girl, very pretty, great personality, but it wasn't anything more than that. Through conversation, we both discovered that we were both in serious relationships. She was with her boyfriend and I was with my girlfriend.
He had been in a relationship for so long. He was so respectful. I could see that he really loved her, and I respected that, and it was really nice. And obviously, I was in a relationship that I respected. And yeah, I mean, we never really saw each other as anything else other than just friends. And I even told him one day I told him, "You're my best friend." We had that conversation and everything. But that was until
2020, the year COVID began, and also the year my relationship ended early that year, and so did Diana's. And from there, nothing happened between us. It wasn't until a couple months after that we started texting, but the texts were getting a little friendly. There was a little smack behind them. It wasn't just like, oh, we're just friends, I don't know how that happened, but it just happened. And then from there, we decided to go watch a movie together, and we went to the drive-in, and it was a shitty movie, but I didn't care because I was with Diana Cruz. And I remember we held hands, and I just felt
butterflies, fireworks, you name it. It was crazy. However, I was a little bit skeptical, He had just finished a relationship that lasted ages.
I had gotten with my ex-partner when we were kids, basically. We were in high school, and now as an adult, I'm getting involved with, another adult, and it's not a stranger, but it's someone who knows me well as a friend, but doesn't know me on that level, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for that yet with someone else.
Obviously, I couldn't help myself but think, okay, am I just a rebound? Is this serious? Like, what is going on here, and why am I feeling this way?
And I know she had just gotten done with her relationship too. So I don't know where her mind was at completely.
After giving it a lot of thought, I was like, you know what? This is the perfect man. And I don't care if it ruins our friendship. I don't care what is going to happen, but I am willing to find out.
It all eventually came down to that question, which I knew it was going to come eventually, and that's fair. I put myself in that situation. I put her in that situation, like, oh, this guy does like me. I'm sure she felt like that big time. But it was almost as if I was just afraid to take, like a leap of faith almost, because I was just comfortable with, the past. And something new is always scary for me. And I just remember texting back like, okay, I respect that. I think friends it is. Let's stay as friends.
So in my head, I was like, all right, but I could take an L, all right. He said just friends, so we're going to be just friends. I'll show you that.
And in that whole time period too, I kind of started getting into tarot card readings and stuff, and I have a friend who's like really into that, and she started reading my cards and stuff because I was like, I need some fucking signs in life, like what's going on, like I'm so like just in this weird funk. And I remember one of the cards, I remember something along the lines of there's gonna be like this magnificent, beautiful energy or force or something like that that's waiting for me, but I can't get there because of this blockage, and a lot of it is internal. Her name's Fran. I was like, Fran, what the fuck does that mean? And she was like, I think you know exactly what it means, because she knew our business. She's one of mine and Diana's, best friends. And she told me, I think you know what it is. And I was like, that's Diana, isn't it? And she was like, oh yeah. So shortly after that, I started making plans. Okay, I'm gonna go for it. Hopefully I didn't ruin my chances, but goddamn, I'm gonna ask Diana Fernanda Cruz to be my girl, and hopefully she says yeah. It had been a little time actually that had passed since I had texted back, let's just be friends.
We were gonna shoot together. So I put up my good ass outfit. I remember he was waiting in his car because we arrived around the same time to the shooting place, but he was waiting in his car for me, and I was like, what the heck? Like, what's this boy doing out here? So I get out of the car, he comes and he greets me and stuff, and I'm just like, okay, hey, nothing special. I didn't give him like no long ass hug like I used to, or no kiss, nothing. I was like, oh hey, what's up? We go in and we go through the whole shooting thing. We finish pretty late at night. I'm over here making comments, because I'm a little fatty, and I'm like, you know what, some donuts sound real good, or some talk. Oh, let's go, I'll take you. And I was like, okay. We go get the donuts. I pour my heart out to him about some issues that I was having, in my personal life. And he's just listening to me. He doesn't even know what to do. I'm not sure what he was thinking, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't really listening to me. And right when I'm about to get off his car to hop onto mine, he catches up to me and he's like, wait, Dad, I gotta ask you something.
And I just grabbed her hand, and then I told her, I just had this big long spiel about how amazing I thought she was. And then I told her, do you want to be my girlfriend?
I leaned over to his ear and I whispered, no. And then he was like, oh, okay. And I grabbed him and I hugged him, and I was like, you're silly. Yes, of course. Yes. And he was like, really? Yes. And I was like, yes.
And that was December 14th, 2020. With all the shit that happened in 2020, all the bad with the pandemic and all kinds of other shit, something beautiful happened at the end of it, and it just segued us into where we are today.
I'm really excited for what we're going to become, because we both eagerly push each other to be better versions of ourselves.
She makes me feel good, and I just hope I make her feel as good as she makes me feel.
It is not the easiest thing to share on here, and so I want to thank Diana and Joshua for doing that, for telling us the story of how they got together. They are both individually very talented actors who I've seen do some great stuff on stage, and together I see them as a power couple, and I look forward to seeing them grow. I think they have a bright future in doing this, and taking a big leap of faith when it comes to love is not for everybody. It's definitely not for me, but it is for our next cuentista. Here is Daniela Sarmi con su cuento Pulling Through.
When I was 25, I decided to move to San Diego. It was a big year for me. I had just gotten my driver's license, and I had just purchased my very first car. Most importantly, though, I had fallen in love. His name was David. He was very, very handsome, had like a chiseled jaw and like casual, nice style. He smelled really nice. He had a good job and a fairly good income, which even at that age, I thought was pretty important. And he was also a really, really good dancer. Like, he wasn't self-conscious at all. We would go out there and we would like bump and grind like the whole night on the dance floor, of course. He was short, so it just made sense for us to bump and grind. I'm only 5'1", and I had dated a lot of tall men prior to that, and the parts always just seemed to kind of hit the wrong places. And with David, they hit the right places. So it just seemed like it was a sign of a good match. He also had a really sweet family that he would visit often. And as you might have guessed, he lived in San Diego. So we started to date. And after several months of, phone calls and long distance, sweet nothings, and all the rest, I decided that I would move down to San Diego. So I made all the arrangements. I saved up all my coins, and I took multiple trips to the local dollar store and the Walmart and the Target to pick out all the odds and ends that I wanted to fill my apartment with. I packed all those up along with my loyal canine companion Duke, and we drove on down. Now, I was super excited. In fact, excited is an understatement. I was like exploding excited. This was going to be my very first time living completely on my own in my very own apartment with no roommates. The city was beautiful. It was big. It had so much going on, but yet it still felt small enough to be familiar. And best of all, David and I could finally move our relationship forward. No more long distance, no more weekend trips, no more driving over the grapevine, which is a terrible, terrible endeavor if you've ever done it. Just the sun and the ocean and the sand with my love and the fish tacos in America's finest city. The day I moved in, David came over and he helped unload the truck. It felt so nice to see him walk back and forth with my boxes and to know that we were in the same city finally. We hung out with my family, we had food, we watched old movies together, and it felt like it was the start of something really solid and special. But the next day, I didn't hear from him. I tried not to think too much of it. I figured, hey, maybe he's tired. He did come over and help yesterday. Tried not to let it bother me. Until I didn't hear from him the day after, or the day after. When I finally did reach out, I didn't get much of a response. Soon a whole week had gone by with no real communication from this person who I thought loved me, who I thought was ready to be committed and to move forward. Well, it was very soon apparent that David and I were not on the same page. In fact, I don't even think that we were in the same chapter. I think we were actually reading two completely different books. I suddenly found myself alone in a new city where I didn't know anyone. I had to pick up a second job to be able to afford my apartment, and I struggled a lot. But I didn't want to tell anyone because I was embarrassed. Embarrassed to admit that I had moved down to be with a person who didn't seem like they wanted to be with me. And I fell into a depression. Many days, the only thing that got me out of bed was my dog Duke. He saw me through my moods, which I guess at that point in time was sadness, maybe some anger sprinkled in there, but mostly sadness. He'd cuddle with me and watch the same old tired DVDs over and over again because I didn't have cable. When I cried, he would nuzzle my hands away from my cheeks to uncover my eyes, and he would stare at me until I stopped. He'd wake me up and drag me on walks, literally, because he was a big dog. He pulled me through. Eventually, I heard from David. Something about the timing and I don't know. But I forgave him. What can I say? I was young and in love. We reconciled and we even lived together, but it didn't work out. I eventually left San Diego and my on-again, off-again, unofficial, complicated, romantic friendship relationship with David. Being older and still searching for love in many ways, I think back often on this experience. I moved for love. It was a big step. I moved for love, and when I got there, I felt like I had lost it. I was really sad and broken and cried a lot. I desperately looked for love, and I waited really anxiously to receive it. But in reality, a love unlike any other was there with me the entire time. In truth, the warmth, support, friendship, and unconditional acceptance that I longed for, I already had. It was Duke. Duke was my love. And as I continue to date and look for a mate, I will always remember to take in and accept the love that is around me already. It was an important lesson to learn.
It's definitely better to have loved and lost, I think, to have tried something. I've certainly been in that position where I was embarrassed about the way a man treated me, and I didn't want to say anything to my friends, and it just makes it worse. Then you just sit alone with your shame, and once you talk about it, you realize that it's just part of being alive and part of loving someone, that they're not always going to be deserving of your love. I don't have any regrets though about things I've done or anything when I've been in love, because I have learned from those experiences.
I partly don't feel like I have any too much to add. This is kind of a tricky topic for me because I am on off mode when it comes to a love life, and my therapist says that that's okay, that I can continue working on just the self-love aspect of it.
The theme for our next episode will be getting schooled. So any cuentos de tus días en la escuela, stories from recess, gym class, college, any tale from your school days, or even just a story about learning something, a lesson or something new. If you feel you have a good idea for this one, please reach out to us in early March.
As usual, we'd like to thank all our cuentistas for sharing their cuentos, their time, their efforts. It's not the easiest thing to do. We're not the easiest podcast to participate in. And also, we thank Alfredo Avila for our theme song. And also for additional music, we would like to thank Aparato and The Tracks.
And if you're feeling in a loving, giving mood, I know we say this every episode, but honestly, it's a big help if you take a few seconds to go on your Apple Podcast app, if you have it, and follow us and rate us 5 stars. That really helps grow our audience. That is how you can support us. And if you write us a brief review, we'll give you a shout out on our next episode. But if you don't, we still love you.
Another way to support us is also just by telling your friends about the podcast. This has been Que Me Cuentas. Hasta la próxima.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
¿Qué me cuentas tú?